No more complicated like that, let me tell you. A prolonged one?
Well, either that. I would like also to perhaps experience it or observe it in a group. Observe you doing some using some deepening techniques with one of us.
It's best to do deepening where you have me alone. Try to deepen right here. It's difficult because it is a group. You have to shorten it. I attempt to deepen a trance and take my time and I educate the patient. Now you sit back in your chair, both feet on the floor, hands on your thighs. First I do some light trance. Your elbows against your rib cage. And look at that white horse in that direction. I do some transplants. Reminding the subject of difficulties in learning the letters of the alphabet. All different shapes and forms, different kinds, printed letters, capital letters, written letters, small letters. You cut the I, dot the T, where you put the little circle on that straight line for B, for D, or P. Now I mentioned, while you've been sitting there, not talking, not moving, just staring vacantly at that object, and your respiration is going to change, your heart rate is going to change, your blood pressure will change, your muscle sounds will change, and your motor reflexes will change. And when next I say the word now, your eyes will close now. And now, I want you to feel very comfortable. Go as deep as possible in trance. Now, I would like that to have a very deep trance. I can accomplish that best in this way. Your right hand is on your thigh. Open your eye just the tiniest possible amount and see just your right hand, not see your leg. At first you'll see both. You shut your eyes, again open very slightly and see just your hand. And close them again and try it again. Keep on practicing. And after a while you'll see just your hand. In the meantime, you stop hearing external sounds of the traffic and the presence of others become increasingly unimportant, and my voice be the only important thing. You just slowly open your eyes and look at just your hand, seeing just your hand. After a while, you'll see just your hand. I don't know how rapidly you learn, but you can learn. Most of our learning requires practice until it becomes automatic. And you have in the past have isolated yourself in many sensory yards. You can sit in a hard chair and listen to a professor lecturing, and you're not interested. The time seems lasts and lasts and lasts. hard wooden chair gets harder and harder. Your bottom first, your body begins to ache, and you do wish that should finally wind up. Next day you sit in that same chair for the same length of time. Perhaps there's interest. You're delighted with what he has to say. You're very interested in it. He's an excellent speaker. You never once feel in that chair. You don't even hear noise in the hall outside the room. You're just listening to the professor. You've isolated your senses. You've forgotten about the student beside you, in front of you, behind you. You're just listening to that professor's word. And your sensorium is very constricted. It's limited to the lecture itself. And time passes so rapidly, and when the professor finishes the hour, you think we've just barely begun. So you know how, from past experience, you know how to isolate yourself from all kinds of stimuli. And slowly and gradually you learn to open your eyes wide and see nothing at all. You have to be told to see me. You've already been told to hear me. And my voice can change into the voice of anybody else. Either that of your parents, your neighbors, your schoolmates, friends of long ago. You can find yourself sitting in the lecture room at college or in the third grade in school, or you can find yourself playing somewhere, talking to people you haven't seen for a long time. In your dreams at night, you isolate yourself from the bed. You can take a ride in a plane, go swimming, go to the restroom. You can talk to friends, you hear their voices very clearly. You talk to them, they answer your question, have a delightful conversation, and you don't even know that you're lying quietly between the sheets of bed. You don't even know it's nighttime. In your dream, maybe daytime. You may be in a symphony hall. You might be in a lecture. You might be swimming. You feel the water. And you see the reality of things is the reality of experiencing. You've got many memories that are experiences you've had. Then usually after a short time of instruction, I'll have a patient awaken as I strike his attention by mentioning some irrelevant topic. You might talk about snow on the mountain tops, a Mid-East situation, again another light trance, and then further practice in isolation of the sensorium, going on and on, awakening you again, and repeating. Each time you go deeper and deeper. Now, some people can learn just one session, can learn spontaneously, utilizing a learning they had already acquired in their dreams at night. Now, in further isolation, you can sleep so deeply, it'll seem to you as you're just a bodiless mind, floating in time, floating in space. Just a mind, that's all. It's being followed by a voice that can change and change and change into other voice, into other sounds, sound of a waterfall, sound of birds singing, dog barking. All of the experiences that are registered in your mind can become re-experienced. Now I'd like to have you do another thing. And that is, I'd like to have you experience awakening from the neck up. And just from the neck up, your body remaining sound asleep. You're going to find it hard to awaken. You struggle, you won't want to awaken from the neck up. Count Dracula here is really a manta ray or a skate, a baby one that's been caught, tied with a string tied around to shape it, and the tail split, and died so it looks like something like a caricature of a human being. Oh, I children bought it at the flea market, so I named it Count Dracula. How does it feel to be awake from the neck up, your body asleep?
Very strange.
Quite strange.
Strange.
But comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm teaching hallucination. I think somebody in your state, mental state, had them picture a glass ball of any size. Have them imagine seeing a glass ball and watching it get foggy and hazy, then lines and shadows slowly developing. Slowly, lines and shadows are forming into pictures. And then slowly the pictures will form into living beings. Now, some people hallucinate visually with the eyes shut. I'm thinking one time when I've used my daughter Betty Alice to demonstrate, asked her to see a baby, an unhappy baby. Then he said, as a little baby. Something is in front of the baby. It makes the baby very angry. Now that something's gone. Something has come back. The baby is very angry. The baby is looking at something very bright. I think baby is looking at the sun. I think someone is pulling the window curtain down so baby can't see the sun. The baby is very, very angry. The baby doesn't know what that bright thing is. It just knows it's angry because that bright thing can't be seen anymore. I recall a time when she was about 9 months old. You found her in her crib, staring through the window at the sun, eyes wide open, staring in the sun. Oh, I hastily pulled down the curtain, and she started crying. Then I moved the crib around so you couldn't see the sun. And that angered her still more. She cried louder. I put her back in its original place and lifted the window curtain so she could see the sun. She started smiling. I immediately dropped the curtain. I moved it because I didn't want her staring open-eyed into the sun. And she immediately began crying. As she was seeing herself as a baby. Once when Dr. Margaret Mead was visiting us, she was then about 5 years old, and Margaret Mead's daughter was 4 years old. And Dr. Mead was showing a whole series of pictures of her daughter. And Betty Oz said, girl, 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 and she was showing the pictures. And finally, when it came to the picture of Margaret Mead's daughter as a baby, he said, baby, me, baby, me. He could recognize a toddler as a girl. But when it came to an infant, she saw the infant as me, baby. I tried to convince her it wasn't a picture of her, it was a picture of that other girl in the picture. She didn't believe that. Me, baby, me. After I awaken you fully, like that, you tell me about your airplane trip to San Francisco, or the concert you attended, or dinner you had, or some activity. After you finish telling the story, suddenly realize you hallucinated the entire thing. So take your time. I really enjoy it. It's coming to an end. Time is passing. Time is passing. And soon you'll wake up and find yourself here and getting ready to awaken and tell me all about it. It's really hard to awaken, but you try still harder. wake up and tell me about it. Okay, tell me about it.
I was skiing.
What's that?
I was skiing.
You were skiing.
When you mentioned San Francisco, I thought of the trip I took to San Francisco, and then when you started mentioning other things, I thought of skiing. That I was skiing in Europe.
Did you feel yourself skiing?
A little bit, yeah. Mostly I just saw a lot of different places. I was flashing to a lot of different things.
How do your body feel now?
Kind of heavy, tired.
Very tired. Now you know how to produce a deep dive, don't you?
Yeah, I guess so.
At Peace College, Dr. Nora, my age, a psychologist, had for many years lectured against hypnosis and against me. She'd give many lectures. And then one day when she got a brochure from Phoenix College talking about my course in hypnosis, as she explained, I suddenly realized I didn't know anything at all about hypnosis. Yeah, I've been lecturing against it. I didn't even know Dr. Erickson. I lectured against him. That brochure made me realize I better enroll in course at Phoenix College and learn something so I could speak with more authority and just plain opinion. So she enrolled in the course, and she couldn't help heckling me. Now, every class meeting, she'd heckle me with questions. And I ignored her, because she really wanted to be argumentative. I didn't want to have any argument in the classroom. I ignored her. And one night, he said, Dr. Erickson, I'm tired of this. You haven't tried that doctor's wife and demonstrated hypnosis on her. In fact, you've demonstrated hypnosis quite a number of times. And you always pick a pretty girl. And I said, well, pretty girls are easier to look at. You mean just because I'm old and homely, you won't hypnotize me? I ignored that. I said something about hypnosis. And she said, God damn, you just finished hypnotizing that doctor's wife. Was very pretty. You sat there in that chair and you demonstrated a lot of things. And you haven't asked me to be a subject. Damn your hide. I'm going to sit down in that chair and I'm going to go into a trance. She walked over, sat down in that chair, leaned back. And to the entire class was obvious. She went in deep trance. I watched her facial expression change. I knew there was some happy activity going on in her mind. I waited a while, and shortly I said, Dr. Nora, Dr. Nora, Dr. Nora, Dr. Nora. She roused up and said, God damn you. I was in Vienna attending that ball, and next time it was going to be with that count. I was 17 years old, I was desperate to dance with that count, and then that horrible noise came rumbling over the Atlantic Ocean, all the way to Vienna, and yanked me right back here. Damn your soul. I never will get to dance with that count. After that, Dr. Norm became a friend of mine. She specialized in dealing with juvenile delinquents, especially drug addicts. LSD being taken then. And she had quite a number of LSD patients. She used hypnosis to send them on trips. Mm. They're much more interesting, much more expensive, much cheaper, and not the least bit harmful. And you drop in, I go on a trip, and feel what they had been. There's a Dr. R. gone back to her age of 17, a dance hall in Vienna, desperately hoping for a dance with that count. As I heard from Dr. Nora, well, she'd been kayaking down to the Arctic rivers this past summer.
At your age? She's your age, you said?
Yes. He always wanted to go down the Arctic River in a kayak. A very independent, determined person. What time is it, please?
10 to 2.
I suggest that you work with somebody who's not a patient, because a patient has a motivation. They want something accomplished for them. Working with an ordinary subject as an experimental subject, you have to give them some experience that will make it worthwhile for them. And you can get college students to do that for you. And do it slowly, don't be in a hurry. I said as much as 16 hours, continuous hours, eliciting a phenomenon. Taking great care. There's a lot we learn. When it comes to automatic writing, some people do it very easily. I was lecturing in Michigan State College, Michigan State University, a psychology department, and they wanted a lecture on hypnosis and raised the question, would I demonstrate hypnosis? Asked Dr. Anderson, head of the department, if I could use some of the students. He said yes, and be allowed to volunteer. Well, a lot did volunteer. I looked them over. I picked out Peggy, because she seemed to be one of the very responsive people. Now, Dr. Anderson and the other professors were very interested in automatic writing. And Peggy looked at me like somebody who learned automatic writing without any effort at all. I put her in a trance and told her a pad of paper at hand, a pencil. All of us were at the far end of the table. And after she awakened, he would absent-mindedly pick up a pencil, absent-mindedly write something on the pad. And we were talking, Peggy was listening, and her hand began moving right. And asking Peggy about various things, and she was probably quite a while ahead and wrote without her knowledge. Then I know that she tore off a sheet of paper and folded it again, folded it a small water paper, and she slipped it in her handbag. I took advantage of that, pointed out that the first automatic writing of the subject does is very likely to be something of personal importance. I called Peggy's attention. She was at the far end of the table, and we were all at the other end. So she was at liberty. I pointed out to Professor, you protected your subject. And fortunately, Peggy demonstrated that. After she put that water paper in her handbag, after a while, I asked Peggy to go back in the trance. And I told her after she awakened, she would automatically write, "This is a beautiful day in June." She awakened. We asked her to describe a picture in the office there. She did. Or her hand wrote, "This is a beautiful day in June." I used her as a demonstration of some other students giving the lecture. About 4 months later, I got a telephone call from Peggy. She said, "Last May you lectured at Michigan State, using me as a subject. I think that is connected with what I found this morning. I happened to empty my handbag. I found a water paper in it. I unfolded it, and seeing handwriting, I read the question, 'Will I marry Harold?' Now, I did marry Harold. And when you lectured at Michigan State, I was engaged to Bill. I only knew Harold at sight. I'd never really met him. I applied to marry Bill at the end of the school year. And somehow I met Harold later, broke my engagement with Bill, and I married Harold. And that piece of paper seemed to be connected with you. Can you explain it? I said, "Yes, Peggy. At the time you were engaged to Bill, and I was lecturing, you had some personal doubts in your mind about marrying Bill. And you had looked around you and had seen Harold. And your unconscious mind was examining your feelings. Your unconscious mind knew before you did. And the question was in your mind, would you marry Harold instead of Bill? That is your handwriting. It was automatic writing, the first you did in Dr. Anderson's office. That's a good illustration. Another thing about automatic writing is this. I learned this a long, long time ago. Word yes. The perpendicular is emphasized in the word yes. And the word no is the horizontal is expressed. I discovered that people writing automatically answer to the question, draw a straight vertical line, a horizontal line. A vertical line meant yes, horizontal line meant no. Shorthand. A oblique line meant I don't know or maybe. As a compound question, line might be vertical, and then horizontal, then oblique, and then horizontal, then vertical. Meaning yes, no, maybe, yes. Compound question. I learned a lot about that. Give me that book. There's something else you should know about automatic writing. Now, I asked you your age, and this for a sheet of paper, you'd write there, wouldn't you? Now, let's assume your age is 30. I ask you your age. You turn the book around, write 30 down this corner. What are you writing?
What am I writing, you said? That's,
If I asked you, are you a girl? You should draw a vertical line here. You turn it over and write vertical line here. What does that mean? It's a yes reversed. A yes reversed is a no. Now, if I ask you, are you from California? And you write yes down here. That means I'm answering a different question. Yes, are you from California? You should be here. You write it down here, that means yes to another question not answered, not asked. The position of the vertical line or the no line is very important. Thank you. And now another thing. I learned the hard way. Will you write your name? Yes. Will you please write your name? Yes. Well, that's a question, a proper answer. And now something very literal. Will you please stand up? Do you mind standing up?
No, I don't mind standing up. Do you want me to stand up right now?
Yes, you're answering correctly. The question is, do you mind standing up? The answer is yes or no, but not the act. And in using hypnosis, you want to watch, see how literally your patients take you. I still find myself caught at times as a literalness of my subject.
Of the what?
The literalness of my subject. And that's how I tell you in the case of took many months to handle. A classmate of mine at Wisconsin, a physiology class, the class was divided into groups of 4. Each group was assigned a private to do various things with. And Dr. Meek, professor of physiology, said, "Boys, your rabbit dies, you get a 0. The having rabbit of the group to which I belong died. Dr. Meek said, sorry boys, 0 for you. I said, sorry Dr. Meek, the autopsy has not yet been done. And he said, well, for knowing that an autopsy should be done, you'll get a grade of 50. He did the autopsy, asked Dr. Meek to look at it. Showed me Brad had pericarditis, a very massive case of pericarditis. And he looked and said, that rabbit didn't have the right to be alive when it was brought into the laboratory. I'll give you boys an A. More than 20 years later, one of that group came to my office and said, I was practicing internal medicine, general practice, in a suburb of Milwaukee. I've been forced to retire. His story was essentially, his father was independently wealthy, his mother was independently wealthy, he was an only child, he had a great big yard. Every spring he had a job of digging up dandelions in the yard. And they paid him a nickel for each bushel basket full of dandelions. When he got the bushel basket full of dandelions, the father and mother would come and travel down the dandelions till it was only half full. He'd fill it up again, they'd travel it down. And he really earned that nickel, and he resented it. He grew up in fear of his father and mother. When he got married, he got secretly married to a girl who had equally domineering parents, who left her independently wealthy. They got secretly married. She lived in Milwaukee. And when he would turn home every weekend, as he had to, for 6 months, he didn't dare tell his parents he was married. His wife lived in Milwaukee, and she didn't dare tell her parents. And so a very wretched beginning for marriage. Then his father died and left him independently wealthy. His wife's parents died and left her independently wealthy. And having gotten up courage to tell his parents he was married, after his father, his mother took over the domination of her son and his wife. His mother made him set up practice in a suburb of Milwaukee. He had to call her up each day and give a full account of what he did. His mother didn't consider him adequate to practice medicine. She hired a very competent and capable nurse to run the office. And my classmate George just simply retired. He's excellent in examination and questioning a patient about a condition. He's an excellent diagnostician. He did marvelous work in practice of general medicine. And every day he had to report to his mother, and each week he had to write her at least 10 pages of a letter describing the week. His mother brought a lakeside cabin alongside of her cabin, and she notified her son when he would take a vacation. And she'd come over from her cabin and tell his wife what to have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He told George what days he could go fishing, sailing, canoeing, swimming. He really ran things. And George was a shy, quiet, modest, withdrawn person. He didn't like to argue or dispute anybody. He held fast on his medical knowledge, but that was the only thing he was certain of. For a hobby, he grew orchids in his basement, and he gardened. He was asocial. His wife could be entertaining guests, and he walked through the road, ignoring them, go down the basement. He breakfasted at home. He took lunch out of his office. He'd go to a restaurant. He couldn't go to a restaurant where there were waitresses. He had to go to a restaurant where there were male waiters. He couldn't stay in a restaurant too long, afraid to. So he'd go to the restaurant, order mashed potatoes, eat them hurriedly, rush out, go to another restaurant, order, let's say, pork chop, eat it hurriedly, rush out, go to another restaurant, and order bread and butter and vegetables, glass of milk, very hurriedly leave, get a dessert if you want somewhere else. And he had never taken his wife out to dinner. And his daughter, and 21 years old, I took the history from George, and then from his wife, and from his daughter. The history's all coincide. His daughter told me how in all her life she'd never been hugged or kissed by her father. She never received a birthday present, a Christmas present. She and her mother went out to a restaurant for a Thanksgiving dinner. Or Christmas, our whole family went to Sun Valley to ski. Mother and daughter skied where other skiers skied. George went out early and skied where there were no other skiers. And he returned in the evening, stopping at some hole in the wall for a lunch or evening meal. After some 20 years of that domination by his mother, George couldn't take it. In addition to his problems with his mother, he wet his pants at least 4 times, well, at least 3 times each day. He would have to change his pants, so he had at least 4 or 5 pair of trousers in his office so he could change. And came to peace, bought a house and lot, gave me, reminded me of how I dealt with Dr. Meekham at Dead Rapids. Said he could trust me when I do psychotherapy on him. I agreed. So I have to interview his wife and his daughter. Now I began therapy on George. I said, George, you're dominated by your mother. That domination you recall as beginning of the dandelions, a nickel for a bushel. Your repressed anger and resentment when getting a nickel or a bushel basketful, all that work, lack of appreciation. And somehow or other, you're tied to it, to your frustration, wet trousers. I think that if you had had freedom in your childhood, your father trampled down the dandelions, or your mother did, you could have said freely to yourself, they pissed me off. They PO'd me. Oh, George, you're too polite ever to even think anything like that. I said, well, I think you're taking your PO'd condition over into your trousers. I said, now, you've got a large lot. It's early June. I looked at your lot, and you've got an awful lot of dandelions in it. I'll make arrangements with your wife to make 2 gallons of lemonade, and you have a supply of salt pills, and put on a pair of old trousers. Your wife will purge you with a trowel. You'll dig up dandelions from your lawn. And you go out at 8 o'clock and sit down on the ground and start digging dandelions. You will have had your breakfast. And you start drinking lemonade. It's very hot. You need lemonade and salt water. And you stay on that lawn all day long, digging dandelions. When you need to urinate, just urinate in your trousers. They're black, and passers-by will be friendly. I'll stop to talk to you. After all, you discover that they don't notice what your pants. So George dug dandelions all day, drank lemonade, urinated all day long. 2 gallons. The next morning, he took another pair of trousers and a trowel, went to the neighbor's yard, dug up dandelions. When he needed to urinate, got out, went in the house, went to the bathroom. He's all over wetting his pants. I'd given him a lifetime supply. Then George always shopped for his clothes. He'd go in the store and say, I'll take that shirt, send it COD, and walk out. Got home, he'd look at the size of the shirt. Right size, he'd keep it. Wrong size, he'd return it, and walk into the shop and say, I'll take that shirt. He bought his suits the same way, his shoes the same way. That's why he walked out hastily. Yeah. I told George he needed some practice in shopping. He said he never purchased a birthday gift, Christmas gift, a Valentine, Easter card, got his wife and daughter. I thought I could give him a lesson in shopping. I called up a woman's just for a shop. I arranged with the manager. And George come over, took my car down to that store. I walked in. A very pretty clerk said, "Good morning, Dr. Erickson, and you must be Dr. K." Now, she is a very coy, flirtatious clerk. And she had George examine panties of all kinds. And she enlarged upon the beauty of white lace panties. His wife and daughter. And all of her dress had him look, see if her panties didn't look pretty on her. And when he wouldn't look, he insisted that he turn and look. And George, knowing me, sighed and looked. And he discussed with him not only slips, panties, bras. Offered to show him her bra. He said it wasn't necessary. He offered to model various types of bras. Now George bought really about $200 worth in the early 50s. About a lot of clothing. Had a gift card sent to his home. His wife and daughter looked at it, gave it to the Goodwill or Salvation Army, and went and bought the sizes that fit them. His wife was independently wealthy, so was George, so money was no object. After that, George would go in and buy a shirt for himself according to the size, shoes according to the size, suit according to the fit, a normal way of purchasing. And I told George, you have a thing about restaurants. Unfortunately, you and your wife have invited Mr. Erickson and me to go to dinner with you on Tuesday night at the prime rib restaurant, Newton's roast prime rib. I'll drive. So on the way to the restaurant that evening, I asked George, do you want to enter by the front door or the back door? I knew he'd choose the back door. He said the back door. And we entered. A very pretty waitress said, "Good evening, Dr. Erickson, and you must be Dr. K." He helped him off with his coat. He led him carefully to the table, put out his chair for him, helped him sit down. His wife, my wife, and I sat down comfortably. Our waitress disappeared. George kept looking at the clock, because I had a table where you could see the clock on the wall. Half an hour passed, and George was fidgeting looking at that clock, and very uneasy. Finally, the waitress showed up with 4 different kinds of salad. And she said, "Now, which salad would you like, Dr. K?" He said, "I'll take that one." He said, "You didn't even look at it." "I'll look at it." And George was forced to examine it, and he said, "I'll take it." He said, "But you haven't looked at the others." And she gave him a full account of what was in each salad. And George chose the first one, then chose the second, then chose the third, and then chose the fourth. And she done chosen all 4 you really can eat only one. So let's go back over and make certain you get your favorite. And George had to pick out his favorite salad. She had 4 kinds of salad dressing.
Again.
And she went through all 4 hours twice with it. His wife, my wife, and I had no trouble choosing our salad. In our salad, as you drop by, repeat after I came, she's enjoying his salad. And told him little jokes. She was really interested in George. As we finished our salad, I looked at the clock, we waited and waited and waited, and finally after a long wait, she brought the menu. George said, I'll take that. Oh no. And she insisted on going through the menu, describing each dish, and making me change mine several times. Now, finally let him choose roast prime rib of beef. How do you want it? Rare, medium rare, medium well done, or well done? And he kept going over that repeatedly. His wife and my wife were chatting. I was enjoying listening to them talk and watching George. Do you want French fried potatoes or baked potatoes? You want sour cream chives on his baked potato or butter or both? He made a boorish job out of each choice of each item of food. And while he was eating his roast beef, he huddled around him. I worked him to eat this piece first, a mouthful of that vegetable, now potatoes. I got mother. And she told me, no, Dr. K, you haven't cleaned up everything on your plate, so clean it up. Then she asked him, did you like your dinner? Yes. You like it very much? Yes. Do you like it very, very much? Yes. Do you like it very, very, very much? George said yes. And she said, it's this Russian. Danny Gibson likes his dinner very, very, very much. He has to kiss the chef. She's black and fat. Now, there are 2 ways to go to the kitchen. A front way and back way. The back way is something like a tunnel. And maybe we won't get all the way to the kitchen. Now, which way do you want to go? George looks at her and looks at me. I'll go the back way. She said, I'm so glad you're willing to go through the tunnel with me, and that will be the noun of that. It's enough. Helped him with his coat. He went home. Next evening, George took his wife and daughter to the same restaurant, had a nice dinner there, and the same waitress, who was very proper, and behaved not as I had taught her, but as she should. Now, at Christmas time, I said, George, you've never given your wife or daughter any presents. No. I've asked your wife to get a tree. I don't want to take the time to help you buy a tree. She's going to decorate it. And she's going to get all the presents for herself and your daughter having gift wrapping under the tree. Mrs. Erickson, the oldest son, I'll come over on Christmas Eve to help you distribute the gifts. I arrived on Christmas Eve as in ordinarily most people have Christmas Day as their traditional way of distributing the gifts. Since you have no tradition, the Ericksons have Christmas Day, you let your tradition begin with Christmas Eve. Now, George, there's only one way to present a present. You pick it up on the tree, you read the name aloud, then you give it to the recipient, and wish the recipient a Merry Christmas, and you give the recipient a kiss. The first present I arranged would be one for his daughter. And he mumbled her name and mumbled Merry Christmas, gave her a hasty peck on the cheek. I said to the daughter, Carol, is that the right way for your father to give you a present? She said, no. I said, what shall we do about it? He said, we better give him a demonstration. I said, that's why I brought my son along. You can choose my son to demonstrate with, or you can choose me. He looks at my son, looks at me and said, I choose you, Dr. Harrison. The present was returned to its place on the tree. I picked it up, her name, and Merry Christmas, Carol. And she threw her arms around me, gave me a 10-minute clinger. As she finally released me, she said, Daddy, you weren't watching. Now we'll have to do it all over again. She gave me a second 10-minute clinger. And I said, now, George, next present. He read his wife's name out. Talked over his wife. Said, Laura, Merry Christmas. Kissed her on the mouth. As she told me later, I said, long time since she's done that. And the rest of the Christmas gifts were given properly. And Carol was going to get married. She came to me and said, Daddy always goes to the weddings of his patients. And he always cries at every wedding. In fact, he bawls like a calf. I'm going to have a church wedding. And a reception in the churchyard. I don't want my daddy crying loudly, bawling like a calf. Can you stop it? I think so. I'll sit in the family pew beside your father. Arabs doesn't.
A little bit.
Well, I didn't intend to hurt you up. I got that grip on the fingers. Yeah. Over flexed the distal joint. Got a good grip on his hand. As soon as I saw his facial expression beginning to show that of crying, I squeezed his fingers and replaced that look with a look of pain and anger. Well, the wedding went off smoothly. And I said, George, do we walk around the churchyard during the reception hand in hand, or do you think you can manage it on your own? He said, I can walk alone. And he behaved himself very nicely. You know, George always played the cello, locking himself in his bedroom and playing the cello. He was an excellent cellist. He wouldn't play in public. I told him I didn't want to give him the lessons to the cellist. I could. He knew what that meant. We began playing for his wife and daughter. And then I said, now you've advanced sufficiently in your therapy, George, to sever the umbilical cord. And you get a picnic table in your front yard. You get a full bottle of whiskey, a bottle of whiskey that's 3/4 full, a good vivid label on it, and then have an empty whiskey bottle lying on its side on the table. I want you in your shorts only. Your wife will rouge your nose, cheeks. You have a straw hat on askew to one side. You can be making your chair, eyes shut, feet on the table. Whiskey bottles plainly visible. I'll take a colored photograph of that and mail it to your mother. As she demanded all the time that he write her 2 letters a week, 10 pages long. And she had an hour-long, long-distance telephone conversation with it. He sent her that colored photograph. His mother belonged to WTCU, Women's Christian Temperance Union. I think that's probably initials. He used death against alcohol in any form. Out she got a picture of her son, looking very drunk, nose very red, cheeks very red, straw hat askew, wearing only shorts, with bare feet on the table, empty whiskey bottle, another one half, 3/4 full. He never heard from her again. He called her up after that and told her he was taking his vacation at the lake. Gave her the dates. He didn't show up. He had a nice vacation. His wife was free to cook whatever she pleased. His own mother-in-law would tell her what to do and when to do it. Yeah, about a year late, next thing I did was, I told George, your wife likes to dance. He told me all about it. Your daughter likes to dance. Both your wife and your daughter are interested in square dancing. Now, George, I can't dance. I can hire some very pretty girls to teach you how to dance. Or would you like to learn, have your wife teach you and your daughter teach you? He said, that'll be good enough. George became so interested in square dancing. He went square dancing every night of the week. Different square dance clubs. And then became interested in round dancing. He joined the round dancing club. Either square dancing or round dancing.
There's someone speaking German on the phone for you.
Oh, yeah.
No English.
I'll go right ahead. So for about a year they enjoyed square dancing and round dancing. I took them out to see a sunrise, because George had never done. Of course I called it 3 a.m. and took him to a distant point. George wasn't very happy about going out at 3 a.m. to wait for the sunrise. After that, he took his wife out to see the sunrise and the sunsets. Now, he did round dancing, square dancing for a year. And one March, he came to me and said, I have a pain in my bladder. I said, how long have you had it? For about a month. He said, describe that pain to me. He described it very carefully and thoroughly, the proper medical way. I said, George, I don't like that pain description. It sounds to me like a malignancy. I want you to go to your urologist and get yourself examined. And George said, I won't. I tried to put pressure on him myself, through his wife and daughter, but George said, I won't. I said, all right, you won't go to any urologist in Phoenix. Or when you go. He thought I'd go to Mayo, was in Minnesota. George, can I trust you? It's a long way from Phoenix to Rochester, Minnesota. Can I be certain that you'll go? He said, I think so. I said, I have no way of being certain. I send a couple of pretty nurses with you. George said, I'll go. It's only from Mayo's when you arrive. He called me and said, I'm at Mayo's. So I called back and asked Mayo's if he was there. He was. He operated on him in July. It took all that time from March to July to get him to go. He operated on him and told me, if you'd come in a month earlier, you could have saved your life. Because you've got a year, possibly two, to live. I lived about 2 years. Most of the time, actively so. Even built a house at Apache Junction for his wife. Built it. It got completely finished before he died, but he never lived in the house. Got it completed, but he was too sick to go there.
Interesting that he should get a bladder. Yeah, interesting that he should get bladder cancer and be that pissed off most of his life.
Bladder trouble for 20 years. That repression from early childhood on. That horrible feeling. As they learn to express his feelings. Our daughter Betty, I was a sophomore in high school. Yeah, she undertook an experiment on her own. She went around asking adults this question: if you were not yourself, who or what would you like to be? All the answers were Clark Gable or some Buddhist star. A few said president, a few said governor. Vast majority named some famous person they'd like to be if they were not themselves. She asked George how he'd like to be, and she came to me very tough. He said, that sweet, gentle man. Do you know what he said to me? He said to me, a shark. A shark. I told Betty, that's that question of people, but not of my patients. I had George, my family physician. That's the amount of confidence I had in him as a medical man. He's such a sweet, gentle person who dealt with him medically. He's such a repressed person in his own family life. I went to see him when he was on his deathbed. He had a practical nurse looking after him. And I entered the room and he said, "Oh, it's you, Dr. Harrison. I'm leaving this room." I talked to George a while. I knew why the woman said, "Oh, it's you, is it, Dr. Harrison?" Some months later, no, a couple of years later, I received a call from Dr. Harrison. She identified herself. "I saw you 12 years ago. You told me at the time that my 3-year-old son would be arrested for a crime in connection with automobiles. You based that on what my husband did. Well, my son won't be 15 years old until next month. He's been arrested twice. One for stealing an automobile, one for going for a joyride in an automobile. He broke probation in order to steal the automobile, which killed him 3 crimes. I want to apologize for my anger 12 years ago for your prediction." On what did I base my prediction? She was a school teacher, a practical nurse, but she wasn't teaching school. She was married to a machinist who was steadily employed. And he had the idea that he could buy a car and buy new parts and remodel it into an ever better car. You can buy a car, you can buy a new set of fenders. That didn't go with the chassis, so he bought a new chassis. That didn't go with the fenders the way he wanted it to go. I kept buying new chassis, new doors, new fenders, new tires, new accessories. Each year he would buy a license plate for it and drive it around the block once, that's all. He spent every evening, every Sunday, every holiday working on his car. And that's all he did. He worked, ate, slept, and gave all the rest of his time to that car. Of course, he repeatedly gets a small boy riding in the car. You know, that summer, he had to renew his driver's license. He took his super car, drove it to the License Bureau, passed the written examination, oral, and the inspector took him out to take his road test. He looked and said, "Is that your car? You drove that here?" He could walk all around, examine that car, call another inspector, who also inspected that car, walking all around it. And the 2 inspectors conferred and walked over to him and said, "If we had seen you drive that car into the yard here, we would have given you a ticket. We can't allow you to drive that car back home. You can call a tow truck. Having a tow truck take it to the dumping ground or to a salvage yard, and don't you try to drive that car anywhere. And we were going to notify the city police, be on the watch. A man took the car, he called the tow company, disposed of the car, told his wife what he'd done, said, I'm not going to try to build a supercar. She loaned him her car so he could go and get his road test. It was too late for the son. He'd already been arrested. Prediction, 12 years in bed, what happened to her son. It was unbearable to think that her son, at the age of 3, she could be told he'd become arrested. When you look at human behavior, certain behavior tell you what's going to come about in the future. You recognize there's this nice young man, this nice young girl, they're getting married. Their marriage is going to break up. Now, 2 different kinds of personalities and 2 different kinds of interests. And the one doesn't have any knowledge of the real interests of the other. As you do psychotherapy, you have to look at people and assess them in terms of your own general knowledge as you acquired during the years. Now, it's past 2 o'clock, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
Almost 3 o'clock.
To the 3.
I better quit now.